Alright brothers, take a close look. Inside this water tank, we're keeping something special. First of all, its size is absolutely massive. If you put this thing on a scale, 10 kilos wouldn't even surprise me. Some of you might already know who I am, but here's a quick reminder. This species is currently protected back home. It's illegal to catch it domestically. So if you're in China, do not try to catch one of these. Friends up north don't really need to worry, because this creature usually isn't found there. It mainly lives in the South China Sea, and across much of Southeast Asian waters. Not just locally right now. About 99% of countries worldwide have banned harvesting it, though regulations can vary by species. Different types have different rules. So after all that, its scientific name is actually Tridacta. A pretty unusual name, right? Among all known clams, this is one of the largest ever discovered, a true giant of the sea. Now I know some of you are wondering, how do people even eat this thing? Go ahead, take a guess. Most of the time, skilled chefs overseas slice it into sashimi. The first step is obvious. You have to pry the shell open. But remember, back home, this is absolutely not allowed to eat. Today we're in Southeast Asia, at a licensed seafood market, watching how professionals handle it. This guy goes in hard, straight with the knife, trying to force the shell apart. Honestly, that's not very skillful. His technique looks a bit rough. Normally, you'd use a long, thin knife, slide it carefully into the gap, and separate the muscle that connects the meat to the shell. Once that's done, the shell opens easily. This technique should feel familiar to anyone who eats raw oysters. It's basically the same idea. Just like shucking an oyster, once the shell opens, you'll see the meat inside looks pale and tender, but near the edges, the meat appears darker. That's actually misleading. The white belly meat isn't ideal for sashimi. Ironically, the darker edge meat is the best part for slicing raw. It's not fully black either, mostly gray in color. And look closely, you can even see bluish spots. Pretty fascinating. To be honest, farming giant clams is extremely difficult. First, collecting their spawn is tricky. They live deep on the seafloor, so divers have to go down, bring large plastic bags, and cover the clam. When it releases spawn, they collect it in the bag. Then it's brought back for artificial breeding. Once it grows to about palm size, it must be returned to the sea. If you try to keep growing it artificially, the survival rate drops drastically. Now look inside. Once it's opened, it's filled with seawater. That water has to be drained first. Even though it looks huge, probably around 10 kilos. How much meat do you think you get? Let me guess. Maybe 2 or 3 kilos at most. About 70% of it is shell. That shell alone weighs a lot. Speaking of the shell, back in ancient times, people carved it into beads. They were considered valuable. Even today, some museums still display giant clamshells. Different species, different shell patterns. But listen carefully, if someone tells you their beads are made from real giant clamshell, you need to be cautious. Sometimes they grind regular shells into powder, glue it together, and shape fake beads. Visually, it's hard to tell the difference. Only experts can really spot it. The price difference can be huge. And remember, even trading giant clamshells is illegal in many places today. So keep that in mind, brothers. Respect the ocean and protect these sea giants. That's something every fisherman should remember. Alright, next up 3 quick cuts and the meat comes right off. A lot of people might get the wrong idea. You might think this thing looks pretty decent. It kind of resembles a scallop we usually eat. And it also looks a lot like a regular oyster. But honestly, in my opinion, there's really no need to go out of your way to try this. Here's the real situation, based on feedback from people who've tried it overseas. What they said is, it doesn't actually taste that good. Why is that? The fishy smell is just too strong. After all, this is a shellfish that grows in warm waters. It's very different from cold water seafood. Generally speaking, when eating seafood, cold water species are preferred. There are 2 main reasons. First, they're much less fishy. Second, they usually grow over a longer cycle. So calling this super delicious would be a stretch, especially when sliced for sashimi. If your dipping sauce isn't mixed just right, the fishiness really hits hard. That smell is no joke. However, some of you might still be really curious. Here's a better alternative. Just use large oysters instead. Yes, you heard that right. When eating oysters, try to choose ones from cold northern waters. They're extremely mild and clean tasting, perfect for eating raw without that strong smell. For example, some northern oysters have special varieties, like triploid oysters. They're usually much larger in size. The common ones we eat are diploid oysters, which are cheaper by comparison. If you're interested in that topic, I can break it down another time, but that's not today's focus. Now, take a look here. The knife man starts by cutting open the belly section first. Then he goes straight in with the blade, slicing all the meat into long strips. Big chunks won't work here. In the end, everything has to be sliced very thin and served with a separate dipping sauce. Usually seafood soy sauce with wasabi. As everyone knows, shellfish in general are considered very cold foods. So when mixing the sauce, adding a bit of minced ginger really helps. People who live by the sea eat this stuff all the time, so their stomachs handle it better. But for inland folks, suddenly eating raw seafood like this can really upset your stomach. That's when ginger comes in handy, helping balance things out a bit. It definitely makes it easier to handle. Alright, brothers. Now everything gets sliced into long strips. At this stage, the smell is still pretty strong. That signature ocean seafood aroma. It's different from ordinary fishiness. Some people ask if this can be cooked with garlic. Honestly, I haven't seen that much in Southeast Asia, but some people do take the belly meat, blanch it briefly in boiling water just to firm it up. After that, they stir-fry it with chili and shallots. But generally speaking, the edge meat is very delicate, and it's rarely fully cooked. Most of the time, it's sliced thin like this, and eaten raw as the main method. Before eating it raw, the best move is to lay crushed ice on the bottom of the plate. Place the slices on top, and chill them slightly before eating. That way the texture improves, and the fishy smell becomes much lighter. This is just one of the common overseas preparation methods. But honestly, watching this for fun isn't enough to actually try eating it. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to follow the channel, drop a like, and give us a strong recommendation if you can. Thanks for the support. Alright everyone, don't go anywhere. In just a few minutes, the next video is coming up. See you there.